There is a mobile game. It is not the most prominent mobile game in the world. It is probably one of the least important mobile games in the world, and I don't mean that to be disrespectful to the company who produces it. In this game, you play an assassin, and your goal is to take out high-profile or troublesome individuals, whatever organization you're working for. Journalists don't seem to care that video games exist across a wide range of spectrum, wide genre. They don't seem to care that there are quite literally games where you can kill a politician or something like that. They're particularly upset right now because in the game, there is one mission where you kill a journalist. That makes a lot of sense from the standpoint of being an assassin. Apparently, the story is, it's a single mission. A guy is going to pick up a briefcase of confidential information from a police informant, someone who's leaking information, and you've been hired to take him out because the information could be damaging to your contractor or whatever. Well, journalists are outraged, completely furious. Here's a story from Huffington Post. Game asked players to kill a journalist to make him famous in a different way. Why is this news? It's absolutely not news until you realize that journalists are being... Well, I want to say this. I think there's a lot of really great journalists, but I think the profession attracts sociopaths who want power and are emotionally stunted. You end up with Huffington Post writing a story about some random mobile game where one of the missions is violent towards a journalist. I don't see them writing a story about any other character in the game. Why? Because they take it personally. Because journalists believe they are a special protected class. Now, I'll stress again. There are a lot of really great journalists. In fact, I'm working with some of them, and I'm trying to work with more. But this is a job that attracts those who want power, who are bullies. Because there's another story we're going to get into in a bit. The accusation that Vice News journalists broke into the home of the, I believe, the owner of Infinite Chan, or 8chan. Now, before we jump into the first story, check out timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There's a monthly donation option. There is a cryptocurrency wallet or a physical address for sending stuff. And you can just share this video or click the like button and comment. At the very least, click the like, comment, because that tells YouTube it's a great video, apparently. So, or not, or you can hate me, because I don't think I'm a special protected class. I think I'm a dude on the internet. But here's the story. A game that was featured on Apple devices and gaming platform Steam included a mission that asked players to gun down a journalist. And, seriously, okay. I play Civilization 6 all the time. And quite literally, you have military units. I blow up cities. I take out religious folk. Like, it's a game. It's a video game. These, journalists aren't the only target in video games. So why are they so concerned about it? Well, because they think they're special. The revelation was shared Sunday by New York Times journalist Jamal Jordan, who said in a tweet that his nephew showed him the game, Sniper 3D Assassin. The game is free to play and can also be accessed through Amazon, Google, and Microsoft app stores. My nephew is 10, and we had a very long talk after. The level was removed by developers from TFG Co. after HuffPost reached out and published its initial story. Let me say this in no uncertain terms. These people, the technique they use is disgusting and coercive. Journalists know that by reaching out for comment, they're going to put PR pressure on a company and force them to bend the knee. In this instance, we can see another perfect example of how journalists are duplicitous egotists with sociopathic tendencies. I don't see these people reaching out to the game developer about any of the other missions in the game. They just want the one that slights them removed, and they will wield the power of their audience to get it. How psychotic is that? This is what they do to, YouTubers, people like Carl Benjamin. There was one instance where I'm not sure if you're familiar with Raheem Kassam. I believe he's a conservative, one of the co-founders of Human Events, tweeted how BuzzFeed took 30 real pro-Brexit accounts. Okay, these are real people, and asked Twitter why they weren't being banned. Twitter banned 7 of them. Why? Because, listen, there are a lot of great people who work in journalism who want to do the right thing and help you better understand the world. Unfortunately, there is a lot of power in journalism. Let me bring you to the great quote by George Orwell. Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. To put it simply, journalists control the present, not completely, but as the gatekeepers of information, or at least that's how they see themselves, They have that power. They wield that power. And that's why YouTubers are so dangerous. This is a really good example of something that matters to no one. Literally to no one. Who cares about some silly little game where you have one mission where you shoot a guy in the head? You ever played GTA? What do you think that game is? All of these games that come out, even, Fallout, Skyrim, yes, they're violent games. You have weapons, you do things. That's what the game is. They're fighting games. Mortal Kombat. Jeez, you ever play Mortal Kombat? Woof. That stuff's brutal. Very gory, if those are not familiar. So why? Why do the journalists write about this one simple game? Because it's a threat. Don't you write about us negatively, or we will hurt you. And that's what they're doing here. Make no mistake. This story about this stupid game makes literally no sense to publish. I will ask you this. For those that are watching on YouTube, seriously comment. Is there a reason to write a story about this? This is insane. They go on to add at the end, death threats against journalists have grown steadily in recent years. Excuse me. And I'm not surprised, though, when they do things like this. Now, certainly, death threats are incredibly wrong. Some of the worst, it's the precursor to actually harming someone. Should never be tolerated. And I agree. They've been growing, and we shouldn't tolerate this. But when you repeatedly see journalists wielding their sociopathic power, using a platform to threaten people who don't agree with them, what do you think is going to happen? When BuzzFeed publishes opinion as fact all day and night, what do you think is going to happen? This is evil. It is pure evil. It is selfishness. It is egotism. And this is what, I experience when I work for these companies. Am I surprised to see that Huffington Post takes personal action against them when they feel slighted? No. I'm also not surprised to see that apparently, now this is an allegation, this is Nick Monroe tweeted this, attack on Infinite Chan owner, Vice reporters are showing up at the owner's house uninvited, breaking and entering, police are now involved. Apparently, the man, I believe his name is Jim Watkins, put out a video saying that they stealthily entered his home and greeted them at his bedroom door, and he said they're lucky to be alive because he has a baseball bat, but his kids were there, so apparently he just made them leave. Now this is an allegation. I don't know if this is true or not, but I got to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised. Now I know many people at Vice News because for many of you that aren't familiar, I was the founding member of Vice News. There was no official Vice News division before me. I was the first person involved. So I know many of the people there. I've reached out. They've gone dark. They haven't responded, which is weird. These are some of the people, I message. They respond. No problem. All of a sudden now, everything's gone quiet. If you were to ask me, based on what I know about Vice and who I know there and the reaction that people have just shut up, I kind of think they did it. I think they broke into this guy's house and are now in trouble. Elle Reeve, who I've met on I think a couple occasions, I think she's she's fine. She's good at her job. I have no issues with her. But she and Lanny Levine have both locked their accounts. And again, I've reached out to a few people, including Elle. No response. Just dead silence. So it's hard to know exactly. There was a post on Reddit. So apparently this is actually getting some traction. People are wanting to know what happened. But I guess the only footage we have is them in front of his house on some kind of surveillance footage. But it looks like, here's what I can say. In this first photo, we can see what looks like Elle and I believe that's Lanny. I'm not sure who that is. But then it shows someone else walking towards the house. It looks like they entered the home. Right? So 8chan is saying they're putting it out there because they want to make sure that HBO knows they don't have permission to use the footage. I would be surprised if they cared. Apparently this happened in the Philippines, right? So in this tweet, this is one of the people who originally shared the anger over the journalism story. Responding with this quote from Paul Huntsman, "To undermine the press is to me no different than undermining our houses of worship. It infuriates me that we don't have the same amount of outrage when freedom of the press is under attack." Well, I certainly think freedom of the press is paramount. We need a strong journalistic industry to protect us, to make sure that we are informed. But to act like, my God, this is in response to some silly video game. And they're acting like it's the end of the world. They're acting like it's a personal attack on the press. It's crazy. And then what they do is they contact the company and say, "Why did you do this?" And the company bows to the pressure. Well, you know what? Stop doing it. Stop bowing to the pressure and tell these people off. I was going to swear. I'm not going to swear. I can't because of the podcast. Well, I just don't like swearing anyway. But tell them off. Tell them no. Tell them I don't care. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if this silly, ridiculous story inspires a game. When I first heard this, I thought it was someone making a game where it was a bunch of journalists, right? Because I was hearing that journalists were outraged over this game, and I thought it was going to be something specifically targeting journalists. And then it turns out it's just a general game with a general theme. What really blows my mind with these journalists, I'll do air quotes, is how they're angry at YouTube, they're angry at edgy jokes, Count Dankula, but they don't care about television. They're angry at this video game, but they don't care about every movie ever which has a depiction of journalists getting assassinated. They don't. They just don't care. So why? Well, here's my opinion. 1, this job attracts sociopaths. It's a path to power. He who controls the present controls the past, controls the future. So you can put out whatever you want and manipulate people's perspective based on subjective information and misleading information or things like this. We made a video game years ago, and it just so happens that one of the missions follows a typical trope of a journalist who is troublesome for a powerful corporation, and the assassins take him out. It's a trope. It's in movies. It's in tons of movies. Well, the sociopaths over at Huffington Post won't stand for it. So they got it taken down. Congratulations. And that's what they do. They get video games shut down, they get people banned, and they do it in one direction. They want to control the present, but it's more just about being bullies. They're bullies, and look, I'm going to say this. The bullies aren't going to stop. When you bend the knee and you prove them right, you think they're going to stop doing it? No, they're going to keep doing it. And that's why they don't like people like me. That's why they don't like people like Carl Benjamin. That's why they don't like Dankula. Carl refuses to apologize. So what do these journalists do? They lie. It's all lies all day. It's mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. CNN is complete trash. Lies. Just lie after lie after lie. And they'll sit there and go, oh, I can't believe the anti-media rhetoric. Oh, okay. Yeah, right. Well, when you have Jim Acosta openly lying, and they play this ridiculous game of semantics to try and justify how it's not really a lie, but they're misinforming you. They're trying to trick you for personal gain, for personal power. They target alternative voices. They complain all day and night about Alex Jones. But I don't see them going after ancient aliens, and I know it's funny because I brought it up several times, but it's true. You want to complain about Alex Jones talking about interdimensional aliens and cell towers and mutant animal hybrids, but you don't care that for years, and even to this day, there is a show on TV that willfully lies about history and what we know about the past for entertainment? I think Ancient Aliens is hilarious. By all means, keep it on the TV. It's total BS. They willfully they purposefully bring on people who don't know what they're talking about to make it sound entertaining. Nobody cares. These people are sociopathic, evil scumbags. Let me ask, CNN, as they complain all day and night about fake news, when they're going to go after satire and Ancient Aliens and other shows like Ghost Hunters and other shows that willfully misrepresent facts for entertainment. Because then they would have to go after themselves. I'll leave it there. This is a subject that gets me really angry, I'm sure there's probably a bunch of other stories that would have been much more, important. But when I saw this story from Huffington Post, I was just like, the nerve of these people to go after this small game developer over a game from 2016 because of one level truly shows the depravity of these individuals, how they want power. How dare you? How dare you make a video game about journalists getting hurt? And that's what they do. That's what they do. And, side note, breaking into people's homes, allegedly. The reason I'm much lighter on this 8chan story is because we don't really know what happened yet. It's an allegation, but I definitely wanted to highlight it. There wasn't really enough here for me to go into a longer, in-depth story on what's going on with 8chan, but I wanted to make sure I mentioned it. So I'll leave it there. Thanks for hanging out. Stick around. More segments to come. For those on YouTube, it'll be up at 1 p.m. For those that are listening on the podcast, give me a good review if you like these segments, because apparently that really helps. If you review and say, hey, Tim's great. Everyone else, thanks for hanging out. And or for everybody, I will see you in the next segment.